we thought, let's turn the page, page 7 in another book, let's spend fellowship on with God, amazing grace.
Let's pray. I'm praying for you, my thing, because I know this is going to have to go through a lot. If anybody's ever been through that, I know. Lost a cousin.
The last verse on that just gets me. When we've been there 10,000 years, 10,000. Seems like a long time, but it's not. Bright shining as the sun. We've no less days. We've just started. Saying God's praise. And when we just start again. So it's going to go on forever and ever. I thank God. One day we're going to be able to inherit that.
Amen.
All right. Come on, brother.
Since you got a song, you sing.
Bless the Lord.
I'm weak. At times I give up, and He walks over me. Then someone comes along with the words loud and strong. Arise, my child, it is I, and I'm still on the throne. He's still on the throne. So won't be wrong. It's well with my soul. Let the stormy winds blow. Salvation, sweet song, my angels roll on. He's still on the throne. Salvation, sweet song, salvation, sweet song. Salvation, sweet song, my angels roll on. He's still on the throne. Oh, yes. He's still on the throne.
Praise the Lord. He's still on the throne. Someone else got it.
You got one.
I don't know if I can sing it. Go ahead, sing.
Bless the Lord.
You've been my life for so long. You were right, I was wrong. I can't repay all the love you've given me. You were my friend when no one came. I was alone, but you were there. Lord, you're the best thing
Right.
that's ever
Amen.
happened to me. And I owe it all to you, Lord.
Good.
All I have is yours, Lord. Take my life, make me whole. You let me be. For I'm your child, you're my father. I'm the queen,
Right, come on.
and you're the lodger. Lord, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Amen.
Borrowed treasures, borrowed dreams, all of my joys you've given me. When trials come, you're always there to make me smile. Let come what may, thou will be done. I love you, Jesus, the precious Son. Lord, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I owe it all to you, Lord. All I have is yours, Lord. Take my life, make me whole. You let me be. For I'm your child and you're my father. I'm the clay, you're the lodger. Lord, you're the best thing that's
Amen.
ever happened to me. Lord, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Amen. Amen.
Tonight we've got Brother Austin. He
Amen.
gave our message. We're missing Brother Dean tonight. We won't be praying for him. He'll have a good service tomorrow.
Amen.
And get the comforting words at his aunt's funeral. And I know he will, because the Lord is with him,
That's right.
and he depends upon the Lord.
That's right.
We're looking forward to hearing Brother Austin's evangelist message tonight. God bless you.
We good? Yeah. I feel like one of the Backstreet Boys. So, we've been talking about doing a youth ministry here for a while, and Dean talked to me last week about starting this Wednesday night with the first youth service. So I had been preparing a sermon for that, and he called me Friday night, and he said, "Hey, you have a message on your heart." I said, "Well, yeah. I've been preparing for that." He said, "Good, well, you got Sunday night." So that threw everything for a loop. But I've had time to prepare. So we're going to jump right into that. We'll be in Matthew chapter 13 today. Now, if you know anything about Matthew chapter 13, this is where all the parables come into play. If you want to find a parable, it's going to be in Matthew chapter 13. And it starts off, Jesus has been walking through the town, and he's gathered a multitude. Multitudes tend to flock to Jesus, obviously. So when you're speaking to a multitude, you can't really just stand among them. If you've got 1,000 people around you, they can't hear you if you're standing with them. So Jesus goes down to the water, and he gets on a boat.
Yeah.
And he sits on the boat. So everybody can see him, everybody can hear him. And he begins to tell a parable that will start in verse number 3. "And he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell upon stony places, where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprang up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them out. But others fell into good ground, and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, and some 30-fold. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear." So he tells this parable to the multitude, and the disciples are immediately flummoxed. They're saying, "Lord, you're this great teacher. Why are you telling a story to these people? Why are you speaking in parables?" They say, and the disciples came and said unto him, "Why speakest thou in parables?" Very straightforward. And he answers them. But I thought I'd tell you a little bit more information on these parables. When you're using a parable, you're not using it to just tell a story. Now, granted, when you hear a story, most people will latch onto that story. They'll remember it. We read books because we like stories. We like to read stories. So when you tell a parable, you're telling them something that you want them to remember, not just some facts. Because you can throw out facts all day.
Yeah.
You're not going to remember any of it.
Yeah.
If you hear a good story, that's really going to latch onto. The people he was speaking to weren't scholars. They not necessarily were dumb or ignorant. They just didn't have the knowledge that the Pharisees and the upper class did at the time. So they might not have had a written language.
Right.
So they communicated solely through stories.
Right.
That's how all their legends were passed down. If you know anything about ancient history, they told really good stories.
Yeah.
So Jesus spoke to them by getting on their common ground. If you want to speak to me, you speak to me about something that I know about,
Yeah.
so you can relate to me. If I want to get to know you, I'll speak something you know about, so I can relate to you. Jesus was very good about that. Obviously, he knew what these people knew about. He knew their hearts, so he was able to talk to them.
Right.
And he answers as to why he gives out parables. He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them that is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he hath more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away, even that he hath. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they, seeing, see not, and hearing, they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I shall heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them. So he answers, and the gist of what he says is, these people have been persecuted.
Yeah.
The Pharisees of the time were wicked.
Yeah.
They were more downing you than they were bringing you up. There's a lot of Christians out there today that will look at a person, and instead of lifting them up in brotherly love, they dog them and call them sinners, which they are. But there's the second half to that. There's the good news they should be bringing them instead of just downing them.
Yeah. Amen.
So, if someone comes up to you day after day after day and calls you a sinner and tells you you're going to burn in hell, and then they believe, eventually that's going to harden your heart. And you're going to start to repress any form of religion they can throw at you.
That's right.
That's what happened to these people. So by speaking in a parable, he was able to not only deliver a message, but deliver a message that they would hear.
Yeah.
Because it was disguised in this story. Now, the phrase that he says in verse number 9, who hath ears to hear, let him hear. On the surface, that seems like you've got ears, listen to me.
Yeah.
What that means is spiritual ears. Those that are inclined to the Spirit hear the deeper meaning in this. So as you listen to that tonight, I imagine that it touched each of you in a certain way. It's different for each person. To the unsaved, to those not of the Holy Spirit, it might have just seemed like a story. Some good farming advice. So Jesus tells us that, he does this specifically for those people that have had their hearts hardened, that are without the Spirit, so they can get some knowledge in them. And he also says we are to consider ourselves very lucky. He says here in verse number 16, but blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. The prophets of old, Moses, Abraham, all those people didn't have the Holy Spirit within them, for the Holy Spirit wasn't on earth at that time. Right. We know that after the resurrection, the Holy Spirit came with us to be our comforter when Jesus left. So Moses didn't have that. He didn't have that Spirit. But it says they desired to have that Spirit. They desired to have that heart to be able to interpret God's Word this way. So we should all consider ourselves very blessed that we have that opportunity.
Amen.
We are blessed above where those prophets were because we have that Spirit within us.
Amen.
That's a very good amen spot. So he goes through there, and he, with that Spirit, we are able to understand a bit of that parable. But just in case, he goes through and he actually divulges a little bit deeper, and he explains the rest of the parable in easier to understand language. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom, and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one, and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. That is he which received the seed by the wayside. So at this point, we can all assume that the sower is Jesus.
Amen.
The seeds he's planting in us is his Spirit. It's his word.
Amen. Yeah.
It's that force that pulls us to him.
Right.
If you'll notice, he doesn't just plant this in the good soil. He gives seeds everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, the soil represents man.
Yeah.
And the four ways we can respond to receiving the word. It says here, the seed by the wayside. The wayside would be the road. Have you ever seen packed dirt? Stuff doesn't grow there. People are constantly trotting on it. It's being torn up. It's not going to grow. But still, Jesus plants the seeds. And then the wicked one, Satan, will sweep them away. Now, how does that relate to us in the real world? Well, that would be someone whose heart's been hardened.
Yeah.
Someone that's been turned cold away from religion.
Yeah.
So whenever you go to talk to them, they're automatically just whatever.
Yeah.
But that also can represent a safe soul. How is that? Well, have you ever been talking to someone and they go to pray with you or share the word and you say, I'm a Christian, I'm good. You walk off? That's the same thing. You're casting them away. You're not allowing that seed to take plant. And yes, you've already got some other seeds, but are they fruitful? Are they growing?
Bless
If you have that attitude, probably not.
Bless Amen.
But he that receiveth the seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and anon with joy receive it. Yet he hath not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended.
Yeah.
So who is this? This is the person that you'll see
Blessing.
that comes back from a convention, and they are on fire for God. They're jumping, they're screaming, they're planning missions to go to Nicaragua, and then school starts back, and they're back to their old ways. Or they go back to work, and they just fall back in the crowd. They're not standing up for God the way they should be.
Blessing.
This happens to a lot of us. It happens to, specifically, those of us that are within the faith on the surface. We're very superficial with that. At church, hands up,
Yeah.
praising the Lord.
Yeah.
Walk out the doors, done.
Touching.
Amen.
We also have seed. He also received seed among the thorns, that he heareth the word, and the care of this world and deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. So the thorns. If there's thorns growing there, this is very good land. It's able, the thorns are able to take root, so is the seed. But as that plant grows up, the thorns will overswell it and choke it out, and it will die. So we talk a lot about dethroning self and
Blessing.
making sure that Jesus is the one on the throne,
Blessing.
not football,
Yeah.
not money, not our jobs. That is this person. That is the person that is alive for God, doing his work for a little while. And then, boss, can you stay over on Wednesday nights? So, one won't hurt. Okay, so then he asks you to come out on Sunday. One won't hurt. And then that becomes a routine thing. Or, I go to the gym several hours a day. If I start letting that take over and stop going to church because of the gym, stop reading my Bible because I'm too busy reading health magazines, that's letting the thorns take over.
That's right.
The final soil is the good soil. This is where the plant is able to flourish, it's able to produce fruit, it's able to thrive under all these conditions. And that is a truly rare case. It's sad to say, but that is true. That is the person that doesn't have distractions in the world. Those are usually the people that are at the bottom of the barrel, out of luck people, that will be the good soil. Because they don't have a lot of money to spoil their time at church. They don't have the luxury of worrying about anything but Jesus. They've fallen on their knees. This is all they have left is the Lord.
Blessing.
That's all they need. That's all any of us need.
Amen.
Now, that's not to say if you're in a thorny place right now, you can't become that good soil. That's not to say if you're in that good soil, you can't become that thorny soil.
That's right. That's right.
We can all look at this and see different places that we've been in our lives where we might be right now.
Amen. Amen.
But there's the one constant that I mentioned earlier, the sower. He's always there. He's always going to be planting those seeds for you.
Amen. Good.
So at no point in your life is the Lord ever going to give up on you. We all know about the disciples. Very godly men. You might consider them saints. They were very holy people. They followed Jesus. They were first-hand experiences of his teachings.
Right.
What happened when Jesus was arrested? They turned tail and ran.
Yeah.
Peter denied his Lord 3 times.
Yeah.
They might have been in good soil at one point,
Mhm.
but they fell back into that rocky soil. They fell back into that hardened earth.
Yeah.
But Jesus still never gave up on them. He still made good on his promises that he would return,
Amen.
and in that return, grant us salvation.
Yes.
So, this was a very short message. I appreciate you all listening to this. I'm going to have a time limitation, please. While they're getting ready, I would just like to pray really quick with everybody. Father God, we thank you for this night. Thank you for this opportunity we've had to worship your name, Lord. I pray that this message spoke to people, that they were able to find some similarities in their life to this, Lord. I pray that there's anyone out there that is in the wayward path, that is in the stony path, that is in the thorn path, that is in the good path, Lord, that just wants to get closer to you, to get that fertile soil, to be able to grow those plants, to produce fruit, and then those fruits bless them 100-fold, 60-fold, 30-fold, Father. I pray that they come tonight and make a decision. I pray that if they haven't found that salvation, that if they're in that hardened heart state, that their hearts have been softened and they are more susceptible to receiving you, Lord. I pray that if they're in that rocky state or that thorny state, that they will come and make a change and they realize that change, Lord, that you can help them get back on the path to you, Lord. Ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Just as I am without one plea, but that thy blood was shed for me, and that thou bidst me come to thee, O Lamb of God, I come, I come.
Everyone bow your heads, please. With every hand bowed and every eye closed, I would just like to know if you're at that point where you know you haven't accepted the Lord, but you really want to. Will you lift your hands so I can pray for you? I won't come to you. I won't call you out. I won't send Terry after you. I just like to pray for you. Or maybe if you have that salvation, but you're kind of in a rocky road right now. You don't really have that grounding for your faith. You're just superficial. Will you lift your hands so I can pray for you, please? We're going to sing one more verse of this. If you need to make a decision, please come up and I'll pray with you.
Just as I am and waiting, God, to rid my soul of one dark blood, to thee, whose blood can clean each spot, O Lamb of God, I come, I come.
Thank you all for being here tonight. It's always a great night to be in the Lord's house and to worship with Him. Is there anything on anyone's heart or mind?
Good message, brother.
Amen.
Amen.
I decided this time to just give up self and let God take control. Brother Michael, do you care to close some more prayer tonight?
Yeah, Father, thank you for warm message here tonight, Father. I hope and pray that each and every one of us take included to their hearts, Father. Father, just be with the kid committing suicide, Father. Be with that family, Father. Father, be with Brother Dean, he's with his aunt down there this week, Father. Father, just watch over each and every one of us throughout this week, Father. Get us back here on Wednesday, Father. In the name of God, say amen.
Amen.